Hey there, viewers. This is Solid Snake 120 coming at you with my first impressions video, and the first episode is going to be on Bravely Default. That was just released today in the United States. Let me tell you, I am in love with this game already, and I'm only 3 hours in. Now, with Bravely Default, if you haven't been keeping up on it, it's an old-school, turn-based Japanese RPG that harkens back to a lot of old-school Final Fantasy games. I would say this is the Final Fantasy game Final Fantasy fans have been wanting for years and years. Great job system so far. I'm only 3 hours in, so there's still a lot left to explore, a lot left to find, and this is just my first impressions, like a quick video just telling you what I think of the first few hours. No spoilers, don't worry, but let's get started. So with Bravely Default, it comes with a unique Brave and Default system, which if you don't know much about it, I'll post a link right here, that will take you to a video that explains the Brave and Default system. So I'm not going to get into it too much, but I'm loving the system. It adds a bit of complexity to it, while isn't totally overpowering or complex and confusing to grasp. I only have a few jobs unlocked so far, and really the only thing I would change is maybe... And this isn't really so much a gripe, and it might change later in the game, who knows, but I almost wish jobs would be introduced to the player a bit more like how they were in Final Fantasy V for the Super Famicom and Super Nintendo, where you get a bunch of them all at once. But so far it seems in Bravely Default, you beat a boss that's that specific class, and then you unlock it. I only have 3 classes unlocked so far. No, 4 classes. 4 classes, so it might change up. Who knows? But the combat is great. Old school, turn-based, random encounters. I love this stuff. I grew up on Final Fantasy, so I have no problem grinding in random encounters. And if you don't like random encounters, just turn random encounters off. Great feature which all RPGs, I think, should take note of. In terms of the areas and the appearance of it, I'm loving the hand-drawn painted backgrounds. It's very reminiscent, kind of the style of Final Fantasy VII, where the actual environments are 2D planes or 2D images, and then you have 3D models maneuvering around that. But I would have to say the backgrounds in Bravely Default are far superior to Final Fantasy VII, just in terms of art direction of it. Really, it's just really pretty, kind of oil painting-esque looking. It's just really, really pretty to look at. I'm enjoying the story so far. It's fairly Final Fantasy-esque cliche RPG elements. You have 4 crystals, darkness, and you're a warrior that has to restore crystals to the brilliant glow they are. So yeah, pretty cliche. So if you aren't a huge fan of those RPG kind of tropes, might not be your kind of game. But you might still enjoy the combat. You might still enjoy the gameplay and things like that, so it's hard to really say. But really, I'm loving it so far. I really hope it sells well, because I want Bravely Second. That's already been announced to come out over here. And I want this new series to flourish as well as old Final Fantasies have. Or did, I should say. It's a great game, and if you're an RPG fan, a Japanese RPG fan, you owe it to yourself to get Bravely Default if you have a 3DS. If you like old Final Fantasy games and you have a 3DS, get Bravely Default. If you've been missing and craving old Final Fantasy gameplay, old Final Fantasy vibes and feeling and the nostalgia factor, you owe it to yourself to get Bravely Default. You will enjoy yourself. I'm 3 hours in and I'm enjoying myself. I would also play the demo. The demo unlocks, if you complete it, some little bits of additional... I don't want to say additional content, because it's not that. It's little bonuses that you'll get earlier and for free. Pretty much nothing I've seen so far in those packages from beating the demo have broken or overpowered my characters at all. It seems like it just saves you some money in the starting town. I'm not really seeing anything that I can't buy at the first shop, It's just saving me money so I don't have to actually go and buy the stuff from the first shop. So don't be afraid to take advantage of the demo. It's the story and content of the demo is specific to the demo, so you won't be spoiling any of the story for you. The amount of voice acting in this game is insane. I'm really impressed by it with it just being a 3DS cart. I was not expecting as much actual spoken dialogue. It was kind of cool. I'm a huge fan of the Tales series, so they incorporated kind of the skit system into it where you can talk to your party. That seems to be fun. Little nods and nothing's important really discussed in those little skits, but it's still a nice little feature. But really, that's all I have to say right now. I plan to do maybe a full-blown review after I've beaten the game, but we'll have to see. But yeah, if you like Final Fantasy games, or if you've been missing Final Fantasy games, this is the closest thing to a Final Fantasy game, like old school Final Fantasy, that we've had in a long, long time, and it's good to see. So, well, this has been Solid Snake 120. Thanks for stopping by. Feel free to hit the subscribe button below, and I'll also have a link to my live stream channel over on Twitch if you ever want to stop in and say hi and chat and talk about games. So, hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will catch you guys next time.